It's the Seth Williams Show with Mike CHESELKA. And here's your host, Seth Williams and Mike CHESELKA.
All right, and right back here on the Seth Williams Show with Mike CHESELKA, and I want to echo what Seth just said there as far as audio-based studios, which I, of course, am a partner in. And Mike, we just added our first show this week. We're going to have a new podcast starting at the end of January called the Blabber Malt Show, which is going to be Dave Kuzno and his cohort Matthias from one of the local breweries here, doing a show called, combining rock and roll and beer. So,
nice combo.
Yeah, it's a great combo, and it's going to be right in front of Billy and Todd's podcast, the Smoke and Talk and Roll podcast. So you'll be able to tune in on Tuesdays for 2 hours of beer and food and rock and
music.
roll. I mean,
Sweet.
how good is that? So.
Sounds good.
So, of course, if anybody does have a podcast and they want some help with it, just hit us up at Audio Bay, audiobaystudios.com. Phone number, email, all that stuff is over there. So
we would be remiss if we also didn't thank our friends out at Wolf Creek Media for sponsoring the Wolf Creek message line, which people have been sending messages in on. Thanking Tammy, who's a great friend of the show. And actually all of our sponsors. So,
Absolutely.
Seth does a good job of running everybody down, but, it's the start of another new year. We're going higher and farther and bigger and better, and want to bring everybody with us and also invite anybody else that wants to be a part of what's going on to give us a call and see how we can tailor something to fit your needs as well. So
absolutely.
Thanks to all our advertisers.
Certainly. Look at this clown. I miss Seth. Get out of here. Seth stinks. That's Seth, obviously.
That was Seth. He did that to make sure that everybody shed a tear. I miss him too, and you do too. But
I do too, because there's a lot of talking for me to do this, and then I got to turn around and do 2 more hours here in a little while. So,
wow.
But that's all right. I never shut up anyway. It's just like the only difference is the phone is set down instead of in my ear, so it's all good.
You're not paying to be able to talk. That's paying you. That's the way.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. Well, Mike, as we mentioned, I saw an article today. I brought it to you, and we decided this would be worth exploring.
Yes.
Our fine Cleveland mayor, whose name I did not even know, he's completed his first year in office, and I thought maybe we would take a look at his accomplishments or lack of such, and maybe wrap up with a little review of what the mayor is doing here in Cleveland. So you had a point before we even get into that?
Well, I was a little suspicious at the beginning of the year and during the election and so on and so forth, because out of left field came a candidate who all of a sudden was endorsed by Mayor White and former Mayor Jane Campbell.
Right.
Former Mayor Mike White and former Mayor Jane Campbell, 2 people that nobody's heard anything from since they left office.
Right.
And all of a sudden, out of all of the people who were actively involved and so on and so forth, and Scooby-Dooby-Dooby. And I got to tell you something. I love this city. I left in 73. I lived in California. I lived in Florida. I traveled the world. I spent 8 years on a cruise ship. And so, I mean, I've seen an awful lot of stuff.
Sure.
And then I come back to Cleveland, and the number one thing about the city is the people that live here.
Mm-hmm.
And all I can say to get this off my chest is the people of Cleveland deserve a better lakefront, a high-speed rail to Columbus and Cincinnati, and possibly Toledo and Dayton,
Detroit,
and the 21st, and Detroit, and so on and so forth. Downtown Cleveland needs some shopping. If you're going to want conventions and all that other stuff, everybody that comes as a family or a couple or a duo is going to need something to do during the day or in the evenings afterwards.
Yeah.
And without any kind of, Tower City should be a crowd. Here's a couple ideas, Mayor Bibb.
Okay.
Go to all the retailers that do not exist in Northeast Ohio right now, and there's a ton of them, and cut deals with them to fill up Tower City with some amazing shopping so that if you do hit big at the sports book, we can capture some of that money on the way home.
Right.
And you don't have to walk across the street to get a t-shirt or a coffee mug. So bring some decent shopping into downtown, bring more services into downtown, put a decent bakery or 2 or 3 downtown, and make downtown really, truly thrive. Number 2, create a lakefront that people can walk at, enjoy at, shop at, live at, do everything except. This is the only city on the face of the earth that was blessed with a huge natural coastline on a tremendous body of water, and all the powers that be and rich people said, oh, let's put a railroad track right here and go to mansions on Euclid Avenue. What the? So we can fix that, and it's time to do it. And I'm 60-some years old. From the time I was 8 years old, when we were the number 8 largest city in the country, by the way, we've been talking about, well, should we develop the lakefront and so on? So we don't even have a sidewalk to get over the highway anyway.
No,
so there's some things that can be done that are easy to fix. And here's 3, and then I'll shut up and you can
go
talk.
ahead. No, go ahead.
Number 3 is, if you've ever been to Pier 57
or whatever
in New York, go to Norfolk. Go buy, rent, cut up, ship up here every battleship, destroyer, naval aircraft, so on and so on and so forth, and build a true attraction, a military attraction for all our vets, all our servicemen, all our little kids growing up, so they can aspire to fly, sail, serve the country, be patriotic, but put something. The Mather is not a tourist attraction.
What, you don't love that sub?
I do, and I love the sub, but those should be the ticket booths. Those should be the first things you see on your way in. Put 40, 50, 60 more things on the lakefront, and then you can employ 2, 3, 4,000 people coming out of Cleveland public schools that only want to do entertainment or service industry stuff or cook or this, that, and the other thing. There are some things that need to be done in Cleveland that are that easy to do, but we can't figure out what's going on because we have too many absentee landlords, and nobody knows where the $40 cash it costs you to park at an Indians, Browns, or Cavaliers game goes. Nobody knows where all that money gets sucked out of the suburb. Nobody knows where that goes. So have some accountability on those issues, and let's start step at a time and make Cleveland the city that the people that live here deserve to live in.
Look, they're all good points, Mike, and it's going to lead right into the first point of Mayor Bibb and his platform for 2022 that I think he failed beyond miserably in. He vowed for police reform. Yeah. And if you don't have police reform down there, everything that you just said is thrown right out the window.
Amen. Because you got to be safe.
Yeah,
and you can't shoplift.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not scared of much. I'll be honest. I'm not scared of much. I've been blown up, for God's sakes. I've taken a bomb. So after taking a bomb, it takes a lot to scare me. And I'll be honest. I went to Hilarities, I don't know, year and a half ago to see Dave Landau perform.
Okay.
And I came out of Hilarities and was petrified of the downtown area at like midnight. Midnight on a Friday night. I came out and I made the worst mistake that I could have made, and it's just a rookie mistake that I somehow made. I parked, I drove myself, and I parked in a parking garage. Oh, by myself. Not thinking about, well, I got to go into a parking garage at midnight. You know, and you know as well as I do, that is not safe. That's just not safe is to be down there. And before you can start bringing in businesses and filling up Tower City or cleaning up the lakefront or putting in, you know, maybe a grocery store, you know, if you want to have people living down there, it might be helpful to have a Giant Eagle or a super Walmart or something in the middle of downtown.
In fairness, Heinen's did their part. But
Okay.
for a city that you want to be, I mean, used to be almost, between 500,000 and 1 million people in the
Yeah.
greater area. Now it's 300,000. It's pitiful.
No, it's
And it
terrible.
ain't coming back till we fix what you just said.
Yeah, but I
Support
mean,
the police, put them on horses, have them walk the beat, put them on bicycles, light up the streets, do whatever it takes to keep the bad elements off the street and make it safe for people to want to come downtown. But you got to give them something to come down for.
You definitely do. And one of the biggest, and to me, it's, again, I don't follow Cleveland politics super hardcore, but I follow it enough. The biggest failing that I see from Mayor Bibb in year one was in his police reform is that he put some kind of committee, a citizens committee, to run oversight of the police. No way. There's no way you can let citizens, especially bad citizens. I mean, you have to just take the good with the bad, and there's good citizens and there's bad citizens.
Right.
How in the hell are you letting people that do not want to respect the law have any kind of say on how the police dole out the law? How does that make any kind of sense?
It's baffling to say the least. Accountability, transparency, nothing wrong with those elements at all. And I'll tell you something. Most policemen see it the same way too.
Sure.
If there's a bad apple, nobody wants them off the force more than the cops because they depend on each other to stay safe themselves, back each other up, and so on and so forth. And they don't want anybody giving a bad name. So
yeah,
I just
it's scary.
Lip service is not what this city needs.
No, not at all. We need action. We definitely need action. And
while we're talking about the police, on a tangent, do not take the Justice Center out of downtown.
No.
It is the only magnet that brings 10, 15, 20,000 people per week downtown. If you put it somewhere in a suburb or way out where the juvenile, remember what the juvenile justice new building was supposed to do? We need to keep all of the vital stuff downtown that makes downtown a downtown. Cleveland City Council, and here's the other problem. It's not just the mayor. Problem with this city, Chris, is there are, I don't know, 8, 9, 10, 11, 13 there's councilmen, and not one of them is elected at large.
Yeah.
Not one of them is forced to see the city as a total, complete entity. Everybody's got their own little fiefdom. Everybody's got their own little budget. Everybody's got their neighborhood development company. Everybody can't say every tribe. And it's like 12 tribes that speak different languages and don't do anything for the common good. We should be moving towards what San Francisco, Texas, all parts of the country that have evolved into the 21st century. We need to make the county the city.
Oh, yeah.
We don't need 85 different police departments. We don't need 85 different fire departments. We need a good school system, and we need to grow so that we can compete, negotiate, et cetera, and all be brothers and sisters.
But again, and to me, it all starts with safety, though.
Exactly.
You can't do, it's funny, this article that we're looking at, it's from cleveland.com. If anyone wants to look it up, it's from today.
It's today's paper.
It says the number one thing for 2023 for Mayor Bibb is education. And I get it. We're lacking behind, and that's a nice goal, but it's not a realistic goal for a city that's dying.
Right.
You got to take care of the people. You got to have people not being afraid of being killed before you got to worry about them getting to school. Or really, it's A and B. They're kind of together, but you can't go downtown. I mean, you literally. I don't know how you think about this. This is how I think about it. I will not go downtown right now unless it's in a pack, unless it's a baseball game, a football game, a concert. Something that I can make sure that when I'm going in and when I'm coming out, I'm in a group of 50 to 100 people.
Well,
because I don't trust it. I don't trust it anymore.
I used to live on the near west side over by Edgewater Park, and I spent an awful lot of time downtown. I really like the city. I think it's got an awful lot to offer. I think things have gotten better. I just think that we're dealing with a national malaise that is tough, but we can weather that storm. We need to put more people on the street, greater visibility, and have some consequences for things like shoplifting and assault and stuff on buses
or
and
anything.
Like
how about just on anything? It's
Yeah.
not hard. It's not hard to follow the law.
No,
It's really not that hard.
no.
I mean, it's okay. Don't steal something. Don't kill somebody.
Right.
Don't, the don'ts are very easy to do. It's that we've been lazy as police, and by police I also mean as parents. We've allowed this.
Well,
We've
there you
allowed
go.
it, and we've taught it as now that's the behavior.
That's right. And to see what you're talking about is as silly as expecting the president of the United States to have anything to do with the price of gas. That's ridiculous too, because by the time your kid is in school, in junior high, in high school, if you haven't raised a decent son or daughter, that's what the problem is. So what we need to do is, if we're going to have dialogue, if we're going to have committees, it should be in the neighborhoods. It should be in the churches.
Yeah. And one other piece to this, just a side piece to what you're saying. Everybody, and I do mean everybody, needs to stop with judging everything in an absolute.
Amen.
And what I mean by that specifically is everybody's argument is that no matter what your point is that, well, there's this guy that doesn't do it that way.
Right.
And it's like, stop it. If the majority, if 100 people are making their bed, I'll just go something easy. If 100 people are making their bed and one isn't making their bed, the argument is not that people don't make their bed. The argument is that the one bad apple isn't doing what he's supposed to be doing.
Right.
And we don't do that though in this country. This country, we don't. In this country, it's like, well, that guy has every right not to make his bed. If he doesn't want to do what those guys are doing, then he's the one that's right.
Thank you. We have one of the finest art museums in the world.
Mm-hmm.
You walk into the art museum and there's a Picasso next to a Rembrandt. They're both in the museum. So you don't paint with a broad brush. It's not about absolutes, but there's some minimum standards. Somebody who can't color inside the lines doesn't make the art museum.
Right. Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's just we are definitely upside down. It's amazing to me how fast we've gotten upside down. But
it's fixable.
It is fixable. It's definitely fixable. Here's the question. I know we didn't get too much into Mayor Bibb here, and I guess we really don't need to. Here's my question. You read the article. I read the article.
Yeah.
Do you see anything that he's offering that will fix any problems? I don't.
Everything we talked about at the beginning of the segment, everything he's new. Once he identifies all the pressure groups, all of this, that, and the other thing, now that he knows what he's up against, he needs to just come clean, put together a commission of all the great ideas to make Cleveland better, and do a couple of them. It's that simple.
Do you have faith in him? And I don't know the answer to this at all, but do you have faith in him where I know I don't, because he's so young? And I hate to be ageism guy, but he doesn't have enough real world day-to-day job experience to redefine how a city operates in my brain.
I was that age once too. And I would like to think that at that age, you're smart enough to go, this is what I'm up against. Surround yourself with the best and the brightest. Don't worry about who gets the credit, because it's all going to work out in the end, and put together a team to lead this city into the 21st century.
Yeah.
It's that simple, and he can do it. I would like to help. And even doing what we're doing with this show, the more people that call in and contribute and stuff like that, it's like panning for gold. Just sit there, and the good ideas take the nuggets out and do something for the city.
Well, and you know what else you find out doing this is you find out that there's a lot of people have the same thoughts we do.
Amen.
I mean, I unlike Seth, I'm not reading all the comments. I'm just posting them up so that people can read them as they're watching the show. But a lot of the comments are agreeing. A lot of the this one just came in about, can't have citizens overseeing the police. It's common sense, and there's a lot of people that have these thoughts.
Put together a board of professionals and law enforcement, whether it's retired and so on and so forth. If you want to put one citizen on there so that everybody knows that there's a link and they're part of the team, fine, but not absolute. You don't go from no oversight to total oversight.
No, not at all. Especially when they don't have any idea on why some of the rules and the regulations and the way the police do things are done.
Yep.
They just don't know. You don't know because you haven't been through years of training to know that.
We need to put together a bus ride for Cleveland City Council and send them to Pittsburgh, Indianapolis, Columbus, all the places where downtowns are thriving and work, and just bring it back home. There are some things that are unique to Cleveland. We have one of the greatest zoos in the world. Mm-hmm. There should be a college there, a hospital there, where we train the finest veterinarians for all kinds of animals in the world, because God knows there are animals all over this planet that could use a little bit of help. So if we created, those are engines that make money and could create worldwide reputation. We live on the shores of the Great Lakes, which is the last most precious and vital body of fresh water in the entire world.
Sure.
There should be an institute here to make sure that the Great Lakes, with all the farming, with all the runoff, with all the stuff that's going to happen, and I'm not saying don't use fertilizer and do all that stuff, but if you're going to deal with what the Great Lakes are, find a way to cope with it, clean it up, make things better, make sure there's fish, make sure there's no algae. But that Great Lakes Institute should be right here in the city of Cleveland. I've listed 10 things that could put Cleveland on the map for each one of those things. If he does 2 of them, it's a good first step.
Sure. And the one thing you mentioned, which I will absolutely gonna annoy everybody by saying this, I have a business in the Pittsburgh area. Yeah. My pinball place is in Aliquippa, which is right near Pittsburgh. It's maybe 25 minutes from Pittsburgh. So I'm in that town a lot. I spend a good amount of time in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, amazingly better city than Cleveland today. Yes. And I love Cleveland. And it sickens me to say that Pittsburgh is better at anything.
And here's one simple reason. There are public parking lots on all 4 corners of the city. If you go to one part of town and park your car and you want to shop downtown all day, you get in your car and drive to the other parking lot, and you've still paid for your parking for the day.
That is a nice deal.
How hard is that? That's how you shop in one part of town, go to a museum on another part of downtown, go have dinner at another part of downtown, and then go home and say, wow, I had a good day downtown.
Yeah. And they do a much better job at police presence. You don't feel like you're in a concentration camp.
Amen.
It's comfortable, but you see enough police to where you better not act like an ass.
You want to develop some civic pride, take all the public schools, all the high schools, and give credit for kids that come downtown and improve it, clean it up, tear down all the other stuff, teach construction, teach all of the stuff that the city needs to operate, put them in uniforms, make it a civic city Peace Corps, for God's sakes, and go from there. And the other thing you do is don't start your discussions in City Hall. Start them in our neighborhood churches and visit with each other, share with each other, talk with each other, learn not to hate each other, and let's get along.
Right. All right, Mike. And I think that's a good place to leave it because we are already up against it, and I got to do another one here in a little bit. So I got to go. But this has been really a lot of fun. Thanks for sitting in and tolerating me instead of Seth. This has been a lot of fun, man.
No, you've been great. It's been good. You brought a great guest. And it's the first show of the new year with you. Seth and I are going to go places and do things. I'm looking forward to being a part of all of that. I'm grateful for all the sponsors, and our heart is with everybody listening and who's a part of the show, and we'll go from there. Happy New Year, everybody. God bless.
And just on real quick on my side, by all means, make sure if you only caught part of this and you want to catch it again, that you check it out on YouTube or Facebook or the SETHWilliamsShow.com. Make sure you do that. And if you want to hear me using my potty mouth, I went the whole 2 hours without saying an F word.
Oh, shit.
I went the whole time without swearing. But if you want to hear me swearing, you can tune in an hour to ChrisAkin.net, where I will be swearing and doing the much dirtier Chris Akin Presents. So that'll wrap it up for this show. But thanks, everybody, for watching, for listening, for podcasting it, for however you're enjoying it. And with any luck, Seth will be back with Mike on Wednesday.
On Wednesday. Good night, everybody.
All right, guys.
Good night, Chris. Thanks.
Peace.